Welcome back, readers, and thank you for joining us for another virtual story time. We are meeting in persons on Thursdays and Fridays for those select age groups. Thursdays 3 to 5, Fridays 6 months through 2. But we are still selecting a few unread stories to post here on YouTube. So let's get started with today's story, Apples, by Jacqueline Farmer and illustrated by Phyllis Lambacher Tildes. Now, I am only reading a selection from this book. There's a lot of wonderful information in here. So let's get started. Few fruits are as beautiful, as colorful, or as healthful as the apple. Pretty to look at and a treat to eat, apples are the most popular fruit in the United States. Growing apples. Along with many other fruits, apples are members of the rose family of plants. Apples are grown on farms known as orchards. Apple trees are rarely grown from seeds. Trees grown from seeds do not always produce the same fruit as their parent tree. So to grow trees of a specific variety, farmers use a process called grafting. This is how it works. Farmers choose a rootstock and a scion. The rootstock is the root of a young apple tree. The root determines the tree's size, lifespan, and resistance to pests and cold water. The scion is a sprout or bud that will become the branches that bear the apple tree's fruit. The scion also determines the apple tree's variety. Farmers insert a sprout of the apple variety they want to grow into the top of the rootstock. The rootstock can be of any variety. This process is called grafting. So here you have the rootstock, and here you have the scions. For example, to grow gala apples, scions from mature gala apple trees must be grafted into the top of each rootstock. As a result, these trees will produce only gala apples. As young apple trees grow, they must be pruned and fertilized. Pruning means cutting out dead wood and thinning out some of a tree's branches. Allowing extra sunlight to reach the center of a tree helps the leaves and apples grow. Fertilizer ensures that trees have the food they need to be healthy. Most apple trees must be 4 or 5 years old before they are mature enough to produce fruit. Dwarf varieties, which are small, can produce apples in the second season after planting. Apple trees grow best in cool areas. In winter, they become dormant, which means the trees stop growing until spring. When spring breezes warm the air, buds that line the mature apple tree's branches burst open. As the leaves unfold, farm workers apply an oil spray. This oil is safe for the trees, but smothers insect eggs so they do not hatch and damage the new fruit. The apple tree's pink and white flower blossoms fill the air with an amazing fragrance. An apple blossom has both male and female parts. The female part is the pistil, which includes the stigma and ovary. The male part is the stamen, which makes the pollen. As with many other fruits, an apple blossom doesn't fertilize itself. In order for an apple to grow, pollen from a different variety of apple trees must fertilize the flower. This is called cross-pollination. Pollen is spread either by the wind or by honeybees. Apple farmers set up beehives in their orchards, and some of them even rent extra hives to ensure good fertilization. Busy honeybees collect nectar, a sweet liquid made by flowers, and pollen from the blossoms. As they work, they carry the pollen from flower to flower and tree to tree. Some of that pollen falls onto a blossom's stigma, the sticky top of the pistil. The pollen then drops from the pistil onto the ovary. Fertilization occurs, and an apple begins to grow. Part of the ovary will become the apple core and seeds, while the ovary's outer wall will develop into the apple's flesh. It's the apple growing. Young apples grow through the summer. They are nourished by sugars made in the leaves through a process called photosynthesis. It takes 50 leaves to feed one apple. In midsummer, orchard workers remove small or misshapen fruit. Only the best apples are left to mature. 2 weeks before harvest, apples no longer need food from their leaves. Instead, they make their own food by changing the starch in their flesh into sugar. This sugar, along with bright sunlight, causes a chemical reaction in the cells of the apple's skin. The reaction creates a pigment that determines the apple's color. By harvest time, apples glow dark red, pink, orange, yellow, and green, or even a mixture of all of these colors. Apples can be striped, splotched, or spotted. Harvest is a time for celebration, but it is a time for hard work too. The best fruit is hand-picked before it can fall to the ground and bruise. Fruits that are damaged are made into apple juice, apple sauce, and other apple products. Only about 60% of the apple crop is eaten fresh. Ripe apples are carefully placed in huge wooden bins. When full, the bins are taken to enormous refrigerated warehouses. There, the apples are washed and sorted for color, size, and quality. Sorted apples are repacked into smaller bushel boxes, each weighing about 42 pounds. Finally, refrigerated trains and trucks transport the apples to processing plants or grocery stores. Now, that's where I'm going to stop reading, but this book has a lot of great information. So it talks about the different varieties of apples and their appearance, their texture and flavor, and their best uses, how apple cider is made, the nutrition and different tips on keeping apples, and an apple history as well. It also gives you lots of history, recipes. So make sure you check out Apples by Jacqueline Farmer and illustrated by Phyllis, Lambacher, Tildes at your Delaware library. You can place them on hold through the catalog. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again very soon.